You've got a great idea. You're not quite sure what to do, but I can tell you there's one thing you better do because you're going to spend a lot of time and money on your ideas. So please watch this video so you don't make this mistake. I would like to thank Patley for sponsoring this video. One of the most important things you can do once you have an idea is to make sure it's a new idea. So before I spend a lot of time and money, this is the first thing I do. I want to make sure I have a new idea. So I do a Google image search and a Google shopping search and look at all the similar ideas that are on the market to make sure my idea is truly new. So now I need to look for prior patents to make sure my invention is new. And I really have two options. I can go to the uspto.gov and search for prior patents, but I have to tell you, it's a little complicated and it's not easy to do. So what I do instead, I go to Google Patents and I look around to see if I can find any prior patents that might stop me from getting a patent on my invention. So there's another option. If you have the budget, and I've done this before, you can hire a third party that can search the prior patents for you on your behalf. But like I said, they're not going to find everything, and it can be quite expensive. So I just discovered a company that has a program I would like to share with you that makes it easier for you to search for patents. And guess what? It's affordable, and the company's called Patley. Now I would like to welcome Andrew Samm from Patley to inventRightTV. Andrew, welcome.
Thank you very much, Stephen. Good to be here.
Well, we're really excited about this program that you have built to help us inventors search for prior patents. Could you talk a little bit about yourself and why you created this amazing tool to help us?
Definitely. So I'm a patent searcher by trade. I've been patent searching for nearly 2 decades now. I know I don't look that old, but I've been doing it for a while. And I moved in-house at a patent attorney firm to head up their internal search department. I'm working with the attorneys in the law firm. We did lots of searching. Prior art searching was kind of our bread and butter, and we started to be more concerned with the quality of the data and the simplicity of presenting the information. And we just found that there weren't any tools out there that would do it for us. So we did it ourselves. Initially as an internal tool, we only ever intended for myself and my colleagues to use it, but it kind of snowballed really and got out of hand. And we realized it was such an amazing tool. If we dotted some T's and crossed some I's, and we could make it something that everybody could use. And we think everybody should have access to simplified patent information because it makes their lives so much easier.
Well, I absolutely love it, and you've done a wonderful demo. So let's start the demo so people can see exactly how easy it is to search for those patents that you need to know all about before you go ahead and start spending time and money.
Hello, yes, my name's Andrew, and I'm going to show you how to do a really simple prior art search using Patley. So when you open up Patley and you click New Search, this is the screen you're presented with, and there's a few ways you can begin searching. We're going to focus today on our vector search, and this is a way you can use natural language, just write in your idea, and the system will interpret your query and do the searching for you. No need to learn complex searching structures using Boolean operators. So here we have the text box. You can begin typing. I have something prepared. I'll paste in. So give you a chance to look at that. What we're going to do is we're going to look for a folding chair that turns into a bed, but in your guest room, so that the arms fold into the bed so that they save space. Doing a real world novelty search, I would just click search now and we'd find all of the prior art. But just to make sure we've got something that we can look at that's interesting for the demo, I'll make sure there's a US member of the family, and we'll make sure that there is something live, just so. There we go. So if I now click search, the system is now going to interpret my input, try and understand it, and it's going to return the 50 families because of the settings that it thinks are most relevant to what I've done. And there we go, a few seconds, and we now have a list of search results we can start looking at. Patley automatically saves all of my searches, and it's tagged with the date and time of creation. First thing I always like to do is give it a name, so I'll just replace this. There we go. That makes a bit more sense in the context of the search, and I'll click save, and it'll take us straight back to the list. And now we're ready to start looking at prior art. So we can see in the list below all of the families in Patley are on their own card, indicated with a unique family reference, the thumbnail of the main image, the title, abstract, and then some information on the owner, a representative publication. Here we have the relevancy score based on our vector search, some details of the citations from the examiners, and some detail of the number of members. And at this level, we can begin to review the families, and you can look at the titles and abstracts, and even here decide which patents may be of interest and worth looking at. Take this one, for example. We can see here there's an entry that relates to what happens to the arms when folded up as a bed. So we can mark this one as relevant and add it to our shortlist. This is where we will come back to the families we think are interesting and look at them in more detail later. You can see here my shortlist now has one family in, and I can move through and add more. Now, assuming that we can't tell if a family is worth looking at in more detail just from the title and abstract alone, we can click into a family and look at it in more detail. Here we see at the top of the page, you have the family tree, the C tree, with the title, abstract, a larger representation of the first image, and then some general family information on the right. To review in detail, we're probably going to want to look at the description. So we can open that up, and we can now read the full text of the patent down here on the left-hand side, and we can look at the images at the same time. I can scroll through them, or I can make them full screen. It's particularly useful for mechanical inventions like this one. And we can go back and continue reading the description. If you prefer to read the patent as a PDF, we have all PDFs available. We can download them and look at them offline, or you can look at them in place. Here next to the description, we can scroll through the images and then get to the text of the PDF, and we can read that here too. We can just zoom in if the text is too small. So if I assume this family is interesting, I can add that one to my shortlist too, and I can now see that my shortlist has increased to 2 families. If I just toggle this back to images before we move on, I can now move on to look at another family. So let's assume I've gone through and I've read the description of this one, and maybe decided this one's not interesting. I can mark this as not relevant by clicking on the bin or the trash can icon. And then we move on again to the next family, and we repeat the process. And the idea is here, you look at the families, decide whether or not they're worth investigating in more detail, add them to your shortlist, and then move on. The next family we've already looked at. You can see this has been added to my shortlist already. This was the first one that was really relevant because it mentions the key part in the abstract. So I'm going to mark this as high importance, and it gets this little triangle to remind me when I come back to it later that it's interesting. And here we go. Next family, we'll move on, look at the images again, look at the description, and we'll add it to the shortlist. And obviously in reality, you'd spend a lot more time and you'd review things properly, but for the purposes of the demo, I'll just add them to my shortlist to show you how it all works. There we go, I'll add a couple more, just so we now have a handful of families in our shortlist. So if we close this window and go back to the list view, we can do something else that's really useful in terms of finding relevant prior art. So we've identified this family as high importance with a little triangle, and we know that examiners often cite very similar prior art. So we can see here there are several backwards and forward citations. And we can look at those in detail using the Fab browser, as we call it, forward and backward browser, and we can use that using this icon here. And clicking on that will open a list of all of the backwards cited patents that were found by the examiner when looking at this patent application. And then this list works in exactly the same way as the original list. You can review the titles and abstracts, and if you find something interesting, you can add that to the shortlist. We can go through and add those. If we needed to, we could click into them and look at the families in more detail and look at the images and read the description, just as before. Just for the purposes of the demo, I'll just add a couple and we can move on. And you can do the same for forward citations as well. Just use the icon on the opposite side of the family card. This will open a list of the forward citations. Here we can see those, and we can actually see one's been added to the shortlist already. So this is another indication that we're looking in the right place. It's finding relevant patents. We can close the backward citations to give us a bit more space and review these. And if we find another one that's interesting, we can potentially add that to the shortlist. And then using anything we found interesting as a springboard, we can now look at its citations. Again, forwards, backwards. We can drill down and really get stuck into finding relevant patents and patent families. And you can see here, again, 2 more have already been added to our shortlist. So just goes to show how easy it is to find very similar related technologies covered by different families in a search. So the shortlist now has 11 families. And this is where I could now hand off to what we call an assess project to look at in more detail. But one thing that you can do at this stage is just review your shortlist and maybe find something else that you didn't realize before. And you can see here this American Leather Operations company has several families in our shortlist. It's 5 of them there. So this would suggest to me that it would be worth looking at their patents in general, because they're clearly quite active in the area of folding sofa beds. So what we can do is supplement our vector search with a name search. So I'll go in and change the input, and I'll go to quick filter. And this is where I can do searches with all of the typical bibliographic entries like office and things. But if I click on owner and then type in here American Leather Operations and hit enter, I can see they have 12 patent families. So if I add those to my filter, I can take a look at those in more detail. So here we can see all of those 12 families, and I can see the handful that have already been added to my shortlist. And reviewing the titles and abstracts and looking at the thumbnails of the images, I can see, yeah, they're all definitely in the right area. So I'll add those to my shortlist. And rather than do one at a time, I can click this button and add them all at once. So they've all been instantly added to my shortlist. So we can see the families I added with my first manual review, those families that were just added from the filter search, and they're ready to be investigated in more detail. And to do that, we have this process that we call handing off. So by clicking hand off, it begins the process of creating a project where I can look at the families in more detail, and I can add any detailed comments, I can add rankings, I can add tags and flags to group similar families with similar attributes so that I can look at them in detail later. To do this, you're provided with a toolbar with ratings fields and comments fields. These are all customizable, but to get you started, we have a few preset options, one of which being novelty searching or prior art searching. And here you go. It's designed for this very purpose when we're looking to see if my invention is actually new. So I'll select that and click hand off to Assess to begin the project building process. So now it's building a dedicated project of just those 18 families that were in my shortlist, and we can see 1 to 18 here. And if I scroll down through the families, you can see here the family that I identified as of key importance is marked with the triangle. So this should probably be a good place to start when we're reviewing in more detail. So if I click and open the family again, just as before, we see the C tree, the title and abstract, etc. But additionally now, at the bottom of the page, we have the toolbar I mentioned before. And here we have the ability to rank it with stars, add tags, and even write notes. So here, just as before, I'd click on the description, and this time I'd review the family, the pattern in more detail. So maybe I want to activate the highlighted keywords. So let's type in sofa and bed and arms. I'll just change the color of those to make it stand out a bit more. So now as I review the full text in detail, I can see easily where the relevant paragraphs are that I want to focus my attention on, and I can read them in combination with the images just as before, but this time I can decide how I want to score it. Let's say this is a 4-star family for whatever reason, and I can add tags based on some of the attributes, some of the types of technology. So let's do folding arms, and let me just create one, back cushions. There we go. So now I can assign tags and I can write some notes. So let's see here, we're in paragraph 6. For arms reference. So there we go. So if I save my comments, I can see everything. If I scroll up and go back to the overview for the family, I can see here, so my score, the tags that I created, and my notes are all visible and saved to the family. And on the list view on the left hand side, I can see there's an indication that I have marked a family with ratings, with tags, and with a comment. And as before, this is rinse and repeat. You find the next family, and we would review in more detail as before, but let's say we've reviewed this one and decided it's 2 stars. We can select the existing tags from a drop down, or if we think of another one, we can type that one in. Let's try flat feet. And we can see here there's some tags, and I can write some review comments, and just as before. And this is where I would go into all of the families in my member project. I'm not going to make you sit here and watch me do that. So with the power of editing, I will jump to the completed version as if by magic. And we can see here that I've written some comments and assigned scores and tags to all of the families in my project, and I'm now ready to share it. I can share it with my patent attorney or anybody that I'm working with who I think should help me out. And there's 2 ways to share. The first way is to give them access to this project in Patley. We can do that by opening the settings page here and simply adding an email address, and whoever's email address I put in there will be provided with a link. They can access my project. They'll have read-only access, so they can't change my scores or my comments or my tags, etc., but they can see them, and it would help them understand what's going on. And the second option is if I click here, we can export the project to CSV or a nicely formatted Word document that pops up when it's downloaded. So here we can see a Word doc with a page per family, all the details of the title and abstract and the membership and the ownership, and then my scores and my tags and any comments that I've written. So instant, nicely formatted search report to pass on to whoever needs to see it. So there we go. It's been a very quick view of Patley and how to build searches using the vector AI and a bit with the Fab browser. You can find out more by coming to www.patley.com, and this is the homepage that you'll be presented with. You can find out a little bit more about Patley here. Alternatively, you can find me on X or on LinkedIn. Ask me any questions that we don't manage to cover in the chat I'm about to have with Stephen, or I haven't covered already in this demonstration. More than happy to have a conversation down the line. Please reach out and get in touch. So there we go. Thank you for your time.
Andrew, that demo was fantastic. It's easy to understand. And what I like about it, when I first start out, I need to know the prior art. I need to know the landscape. And you made it really easy for us, because some of the other things that we do, such as searching at the USPTO or doing Google Patents, it's not easy, but you made it easy for all of us. But here's the big question. What does it cost?
Great question. Well, the good news is it's free. There is a free version of Patley that anybody can access. You can go straight to patley.com and sign up straight away. There are several paid tiers that add more features and give you more capabilities. But for the first look, for the inventors out there that just want to have a quick look around to see what's out there, there's a free version just for you.
That's absolutely fantastic. Our audience is going to love it. Andrew, thank you very much for creating such a wonderful tool. We know how important it is as inventors to know the landscape. You made it easy. You made it affordable. It's free. We're going to have information down below and on the screen. Everybody check it out. I think you're going to love it. Thank you for creating such a great tool for us inventors.
You're welcome. And if any of your viewers have any questions, please just let me know. Get in touch. Happy to talk patents, talk inventions, any time of the day or night.
Thank you very much, Andrew, for coming on InventRightTV.
Thank you very much for having me.